Nice. Good timing. It says we're live. Hello and welcome, everyone or no one, whoever might actually be there. So this experiment friggin' backfired. We'll get back to that. Welcome to Casual as Fuck, uh, the show in which I am such a casual gamer, I often don't even play a fucking game while we stream. That may be the case tonight as well. We'll
That,
have to
that's
see.
pretty casual, man.
Yeah, casual as fuck. It's been an interesting week so
Yeah,
far. Yeah,
yeah.
there's been some weird ass shit going on,
Well,
uh,
the missiles aren't flying, so we're ahead of the game, so to speak, I guess.
which is interesting in itself that hasn't happened yet. Uh,
Yeah.
so okay, let's start there. I don't have banners ready. So suddenly, while I am still obviously in support of the poor people of Ukraine and the poor people of Russia, uh, somehow everyone's forced into this war. I can no longer support the armed forces of Ukraine.
Why is
I
that?
saw the photos. I saw the photos of
Of
some really stupid shit. Okay. Hey, Ukrainian military forces showing off the new gear that just came in from their fucking NATO allies. Ha
yeah,
ha ha. They took pictures posted on the internet, not realizing it is incredibly easy to tell by the murals painted on the walls and the toys strewn about the floor that you are in either a daycare or a fucking kindergarten classroom.
right.
You are hiding in a fucking school? Are you terrorists do that? What the
Well, does
fuck
it
is that?
surprise you? I mean, so I watch a stream called Redacted. I don't know if you've ever seen it. Clayton Morris, he's like a veteran journalist, but now he does a live stream podcast thing with his wife, and they talk a lot about what's going on in Ukraine. So I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but they've now gone to hiring Al Qaeda and ISIS forces to shore up their troops. So Al Qaeda is being paid like $1,500 a day to fight for Ukraine, and they're being armed once again by the United States.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's hard to tell under the face coverings and shit whether these were Arab Muslims or blonde-haired, blue-eyed Ukrainians, right?
No, like an Al Qaeda guy was captured, I guess, at some point, and was brought in front of the TV screen, in front of the TV cameras, and said, "Yeah, we were paid so much by Spain, so much by Germany, so much by I think France as well, and so much by so and so." What would amount to ultimately like $1,500, 1,200, $1,500 a day or something like that for their services, and admitting to, yeah, we were recruited and hired because the what's his name, one of the sort of analysts who used to be in U.S. military, who's staunchly against this, NATO being involved in this because
Mm.
Ukraine's not a NATO ally, is saying, here's the thing, that Ukraine's already blown through all of their fighting age men, their best of Ukraine's forces. So now they're kind of like they're stuck, and so they need to rely more on contractors. They need to rely more on outside forces, NATO forces, and so now they've gone, I guess, to hiring people from Uzbekistan and places like that, right? So
Still, that would alter the, armed forces strategies across the board
yeah,
and decide to use schools and daycares as staging
yeah,
points.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it is, but I mean, like, is it surprising? Costin's in the chat. Hello, Costin.
Hello, Costin.
And Ben
Welcome.
is here, and so is
No, they're not here
Randy.
anymore.
Oh, they were.
Oh,
Oh, yeah,
maybe
that
they're
was
back.
earlier. That
We
was
have
earlier.
got a couple people showing up now. Got a handful of people. I wanted to explain what was happening. Poor Ben showed up right at like 8:15 when I first created this thing
Oh, okay.
because I tried that little experiment that the guy
Oh, the
said
trick.
would
Yeah,
work.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because okay, look, a lot of people don't get the notification when we set up to go live, right? And even when we do go live, they don't get the notification. So I heard this thing about how you get a better exposure, even especially to your own subscribers, at about 15 minutes before you go live. So someone said, just keep changing the time,
Yeah.
right? So I want everyone to know, I'm sorry if you feel like deceived, okay? The thumbnail said it clear, because poor Ben was like 8:30 better than 10. It's like, oh no, it's still 10, guy.
Yeah.
Right? The thumbnail will tell you the accurate start time,
Yeah.
but whenever possible, I will be not lying to you guys. I'll be lying to YouTube about the start time to try and get the message out so that you guys have time to see that we're actually going live or whatever, and
Right.
you can
Right.
jump in with us. So sorry about the confusion there. Really, I don't mean to deceive you. I mean to deceive YouTube.
And they're worthy of being deceived.
Mm.
Ugh. So yeah, I mean, I made a meme and I posted it on Twitter. It's the astronauts on the moon looking back at Earth, and the one guy's and the Ukraine flag is on Earth, and the one guy saying, "Wait, Ukraine is full of Nazis?" And the guy behind him with the gun says, "Always has been."
Always has been.
Because I mean, the other photos have come out too of Ukrainian forces with that Nazi flag, and it's not like the Azov Battalion. Is that what they're called? The Azov Battalion. They're not the only Nazi group in Ukraine. Ukraine's had a long history of associating with Nazis.
Yeah.
They've had political leaders that died way back when, have been made national heroes with holiday observances. Up until including in the last 10 years, they've said, this guy who worked with the Nazis, yeah, he was actually a pretty cool dude. We're gonna honor him and build a statue and all this sort of shit. So they're not. It's not like, oh, it's a small fringe minority. There's a sizable Nazi quotient in Ukraine's forces.
So how about that convoy, though?
Yeah, I guess saying Nazi over and over is just a surefire way to like de-rank your stream, isn't it? The Inquisition, the Honkquisition, was happening today. I saw a little bit of it. Did you catch any of it?
No, I was just following some of the tweets about it. And what's really funny is instead of seeing the people that I follow and their takes on it, I'm seeing Rachel Gilmore's quote tweets.
Okay.
She's like is she the CBC?
Yeah.
CBC Barbie or whatever.
Yeah, she's the one who does all the social media crap. Like, so she puts stuff on TikTok and stuff like that.
Yeah. Right. And yeah, like her takes on everything are fucking terrible.
Well, the funny thing is that the lawyer who's representing, the convoy organizers and other people who were involved in the convoy said, look, this is not a what do you call it? An inquiry about the protests or the legality of the protests. This is an inquiry about, was this a reasonable or justifiable use of the Emergencies Act? And so, for the last all day today, all the people who were up there were like, well, my business was affected, and I got a headache because of the honking. And people, was it the racialized businesses were negatively impacted? Like, what does race have to do with any of this? Of course, race has to do with everything. So, it's not surprising, but it's absolutely ridiculous. It's a clown show. It's a dog and pony clown show.
Yeah, like Greg Wycliffe put out a video this evening, and like it's a good video. It's worth watching, but like the shorthand, if you only take one thing from it, is he basically says, was the use of the EMA justified? If you have to ask, the answer is no.
Good point. But I guess it's sort of like, hey, Six.
Hola.
I guess the whole thing is like, when it's written into the act that when it is ever invoked, there must be an inquiry as to its justifiability. right?
And the
So
question is, like, when they find that it obviously wasn't justified, does anyone get in trouble for this?
no,
No, like,
no, all it does is set the benchmark for when it can reasonably be. Like if they said, "Yeah, we found that the prime minister's office did nothing wrong in invoking this," well, that just sets a precedent that
right.
anytime somebody, more than a handful of people gather in the Capitol to protest the government, uh, if he gets a little bit spooked because he's having a bad acid flashback or something, he can invoke any prime minister can invoke the the Emergencies Act and be okay, get off scot free without issue, and suspend rights and the whole bit. Anyway, yeah, no, it's stupid. Everybody who when he did it, the first time he did it, people around the world were saying, "What are you doing? This is a protest. Like this is insane." They
Oh
didn't
yeah.
they didn't storm Parliament. They're out on the street honking their horns,
Was it
jumping in a bouncy castle, making hot dogs for people.
Andrew Lawton tweeted something about, I can't wait for the moment in this inquiry when they have to inflate the bouncy castles inside the courtroom so that witnesses can point to the parts of the bouncy castle that caused them trauma.
That's right. They're gonna do some silly thing like we found out where they ordered the bouncy castles from, and the party supply shop or the party event coordinator shop or whatever. They have links to Russia. There's going to be some stupid shit like that. Putin paid for the bouncy castles.
God damn, man! Like, just ridiculous, just ridiculous, and all over mandates for a vaccine that was never apparently tested for prevention of transmission.
Yeah, stopping transmission or negatively impact or slowing transmission. Yeah, it's all ridiculous. And can you believe the shit that's coming out about what's her name said? Danielle Smith. That's her name, right? Danielle Smith.
Yeah.
Because she rightly pointed out, you know what? Like Canadians were discriminated against simply for their medical choices. This is the most discrimination I've ever seen of any group in my lifetime. And people are saying that's racist. How is it racist? Like, how can you discount all of the discrimination that other groups have felt over the No. You misunderstand. Discrimination by means of there were laws or practices put in place by government that willfully discriminated against a segment of the population. We've never had that before in our lifetime where we said, you know what? This group here, they're a problem. We're going to keep them out of society. We've never done that before in living memory. So she's absolutely right. But I guess the issue is well, because what about what Indigenous people went through? What about what whoever went through? And I'm like, that's besides the point. Can we first get to the common ground that discrimination is bad? Okay, discrimination is bad. So if it happens to anyone for any reason, it's bad. And this is the most any group of people have been discriminated against by their government and by officials in living memory. She's not wrong. And so we're calling her out for not apologizing. There's nothing to apologize for. She didn't say anything wrong.
She just clarified her position there.
Yeah, she clarified. I didn't mean to minimize anything.
No. But, yeah, and she did not say this is an apology. It's just like no, hold on, and like it so amazes me how quickly they jump to, well, what about this historical oppression, motherfuckers? Oppression was happening in the moment. And not only did you not fight it, you fucking backed it.
Yeah.
You supported it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what do you think would have happened if you existed back then?
Yeah. So yeah, I'll ignore your crocodile tears. Thanks very much for the poor suffering of Indigenous peoples, because the fact matter is the way you behave towards the unvaccinated tells me that were you alive at the time that the Indigenous peoples were being discriminated against, you would have been right on board with it. You would have been saying all the worst, most regressive things about them. Oh, well, of course we need to put them away in schools. They're savages. We need to civilize them. You'd be saying shit like that. So don't give me this fucking horse shit.
Oh, yeah.
What about the discrimination of the Indigenous folk? Yeah, that was fucking bad. Everybody agrees that was bad. It also happened 50 fucking years ago or more. We're talking about right now to people, regardless of race or background or religion, everybody who just made simple decision not to get a experimental medical treatment was discriminated against, denied their basic charter rights. Not just, we're sent off somewhere and said, behave, or we need to teach you a lesson. It was like, no, we're going to exclude you from society. We're going to segregate you from society.
Jesus Gonzalez, what's ridiculous is that depopulationists all of a sudden want to save lives by giving you the depop juice, and people trust them?
Yeah.
Oh, so is this a good time to go into my fun conspiracy theory?
Please do. I'm just going to get a cord here to charge my vape.
Yeah, okay. So I had seen this on Twitter. Someone was talking about all the extra boosters, and now that they're saying, what is it, 2 months apart now, and every 2 months instead of 6 months?
Yeah, I think that's what Kelly Lamb was saying. Yeah,
that's right. And I just pointed out that a good conspiracy requires at least 2 elements. A good conspiracy theory, all right? You need a strange coincidence, number 1, and number 2, you need an ominous connection. Okay,
there you go.
Now, these mRNA jabs have a very unusual scheduling protocol, as we've all seen. 2 initial jabs close together, and then repeated boosters every 6 to 8 months, now 2 to 8 months, apparently, until the desired results are achieved. Ostensibly, the desired result would be immunity, herd immunity, right?
Right.
Now, there's only one other treatment that I'm aware that's used on invasive species of wild horses and pigs when they're destroying surrounding environment that follows a similar scheduling protocol. 2 initial doses followed by repeated doses over time until the results are achieved. But in this case, the results desired are the infertility of the species en masse, so that their bloodlines eventually just die out. They just can't breed effectively anymore.
Right.
Now, that's just the strange coincidence. It's not nearly enough to make a conspiracy theory.
No.
You need your ominous connection.
Do it.
The current CEO of Pfizer, Dr. Albert Bourla, who oversaw the development and rollout of these mRNA vaccinations, is a fucking veterinarian.
What? What the?
Now, that's just for fun. If you actually want to a real conspiracy theory, you need motives and
Well, you can also go by what has been said by people who were backing this whole situation, right? Bill Gates comes to mind, where he's long been saying that we need to depopulate and we need to reduce the population by more than 50%. The WEF has even said it. So if the WEF are all on board on this, and the CDC and the World Health Organization and everybody else is on board with this vaccination, makes you wonder, right?
Now, I'm familiar with the Bill Gates quote.
Yeah.
And it is a little lexically ambiguous, right? That he said something about, we're at 7 billion, headed for 9 billion by this time. And through medication vaccination, we could reduce that by 15%. Does he mean reduce the 7 billion by 15%? Reduce the growth by 15%? Either way, putting infertility shit into vaccines to reduce that growth is fucking unethical.
Right.
Sure. Now, who knows exactly what he meant, because he's a fucking liar, so who the hell could ever tell what he actually means, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So, but fun. Conspiracy theories don't come from nowhere. No. They come from really fucking awesome places, okay?
It's true. Sorry, I'm trying to get a cord. I need to get a cord.
Yeah, he can't vape without power. Jack, thanks for coming. Good to see you.
Let's just go.
And it's just amazing that this inquiry that's happening, how people are spinning it as to oh, it was so terrible for these poor people who had to hear truck horns. And then one of the city councilors at the time
was
a witness saying that they had to personally escort with police this one LGBTQ couple because out of the city because they had a rainbow pride flag in their window and someone shat on their back step and fucking they were harassing them, angry and like, hold on. The counselor is testifying that they did this. Where's the fucking couple?
Yeah, why are they testifying?
Oh,
yeah, that's all hearsay. And how do you know that the person shitting on their back step wasn't just some homeless asshole?
Yeah.
I mean, because that's who shits in public, homeless people.
Or anyone who lives in San Francisco.
True.
Yeah.
Homeless people.
It's just homeless people.
It is.
All of San Francisco.
Well, the people who have plumbing, they're not homeless.
Oh, man. And what's her name? Gina Lee?
Yeah, something like that. She's got like a stripper name, yeah.
Yeah. Asian chick that got the injunction against the horns that lasted all of 11 hours.
Yeah.
That's how polite Canadians are. Instead of going fuck you and never stopping honking, they're like, yeah, we'll give her half a day.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And then she says, oh, the big concern was crimes, right? And the Rebel News reporter is trying to ask her on her way out, okay, crime dropped throughout all of Ottawa by 90%. All crimes down 90% during this so-called occupation.
Well, here's the thing. The people in Ottawa who are mostly affected were, the least diverse group of people complaining about an occupation, so to speak, the convoy, which was incredibly diverse. There were people from all walks of life there. And they're probably not used to seeing that many brown people and Slavic people in their neighborhood. So they're like, oh.
In the Byward Market?
Yeah.
No, they can't afford that.
Yeah. I haven't been in Ottawa in years. I love the city, but I haven't been in years. I need to go back. Nice city.
I've never been. If I ever go, it'll be because we have to go back.
Yeah, because you have to protest. Yeah,
I
agree.
I have no other reason to ever go there. I've been looking at Twitter, trying to find some fun images to share here if I'm not going to share a video game. I found a couple. We'll get there. But you know what's trending right now?
What?
Hashtag unvaccinated.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And what are the deals about that?
It seems to be so far like 98, 99%. Geez, the unvaccinated short versions of that video of the guy talking about how, wow, the unvaccinated really took a beating, and the fact that they didn't give in is pretty fucking impressive. We owe them an apology.
Oh, yeah, I saw that video.
Yeah.
I mean, the one that you said, I'm no hero. I'm just stubborn as all hell. And I'm like, you're my hero, Irving Ken.
No, yeah, my fucking rage-fueled, half-alcoholic curmudgeon ass is made of the best stuff that humans can be made of. No, I'm just a bigger asshole than they are.
Yeah.
Oh, but man, someone had said lately, I'm more proud of being unvaccinated than I am of being Canadian. And it's like, yeah, no, I get it. I get.
The good thing is, if you're unvaccinated, you've got people in your corner all over the world, right? Whereas if you're unvaccinated and Canadian, you're a minority, and most of the majority is shitting on you. So,
yeah, still to this day.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the same's the world over, but you know what? The fact is that there's strength in numbers, so you can find the unvaccinated. I think in 5-10 years, you're gonna see sort of a turnaround where there's gonna be more and more people saying, yeah, you know what, the unvaccinated were right all along.
They're gonna have to, because it turns out that 90% number that they were touting all that time, that had to do with, at the time, eligible people.
Right.
No minors were eligible at the time.
Yeah, but now they want 5-year-olds to get it.
But guess what? I work with a bunch of fucking Zoomers. I'm like the oldest guy in the building, and
Yeah.
everyone else is between 16 and 20, all unvaccinated.
No
None of them
shit,
are
eh?
getting it. None of them are getting it. They hate the fucking government. They hate the fucking left-wing social vengeance warrior bullshit. Like
Yep.
16-year-olds going, really? Fucking drag reading hour? It's fucking retarded.
My nephew's like that too. My nephew's very much like that.
Well, did you see that
Now,
video?
he was raised Catholic,
Okay.
so he's a little bit. I don't know that he's staunchly religious, but he has that cultural upbringing. So he's. It's not that he hates the government, but he hates the perpetuation and the pushing of, for lack of a better word, degenerate culture, right? So
Yeah, I've noticed for these Zoomers, what seems to be the tipping point, the thing that triggers them, is they're all at that age, right? Where their first thought when someone starts feeding them this nonsense is leave me alone.
yeah.
Right? That it's like whoa, what, like they're backing up and going, don't fucking do this to me. And they can already tell it's something they're trying to do to them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And they're not gonna fucking take it.
No.
So yeah, those numbers are gonna shift, and they're gonna shift pretty quickly as these kids go from 16 to 18. Right? That at between 14 and 16, they're locked in the house. They can't play hockey. They can't go to school. Like, trust me, they are not going to forget this, and they're not going to forgive it.
So maybe that's the silver lining we can take from the 2 years of lockdowns and mandates, is that the liberal government and the politicians who decided to flex their muscles in terms of authoritarian rule created a whole generation of libertarians. Could be.
Let's hope they're libertarians, because if it's farther than that, like, remember, right? Then one day, for no reason at all, people voted a failed Austrian painter into power, right? Like, there was no reason. They just did it, right?
It's true. I don't think we've got a risk of that here in Canada. There's a YouTuber called What If Alt Hist. I think I might have mentioned him before.
Sounds interesting already.
So he basically looks at what's going on and what has gone on. He's a historian. He's a young guy. He's probably in his 20s, maybe early 30s. Anyway, he goes through what's happened before in Europe and United States, that kind of thing. And he kind of makes predictions about where he sees things going. And he likens it back. He's like, what will happen in the next, 30 or 40 years in the United States means there's going to be balkanization. And if there is a civil war, he's done a number of videos about what if there's a civil war in the United States. It's like the right's going to win. The left can't form a cohesive force because they constantly eat their own. And the right are centered by principles and values. And even if they don't agree on every minutia thing, they're like, well, at least you're not that psychopath over there. So I'm willing to, stand shoulder to shoulder with you. Anyway,
also, they have all the guns.
Yeah, and they have all the guns. There's that too. And, good chunk of the military probably share those sentiments, right? So, yeah, I strongly encourage everybody to check out the channel. It's called What If Alt Hist, as in what if alternate history. He's got a number of really good videos. But yeah, no, it's really sort of I don't want to say eye-opening, because it's not like everything's a revelation, but it's interesting to see his perspective as a historian, right? So yeah, I keep pushing. I say, dude, you got to get on Timcast. You got to get on Timcast. Maybe he's been on, but I haven't seen it. I don't watch the Timcast IRL very much anymore. I don't know. It's like 2 hours, and I can't seem to sort of get into it. That's why I've been watching this Redacted podcast with this couple, which is you watch them and you're like, okay, these guys are clearly Russia apologists, Putin apologists, because they come off as, very well. They're anti-war in Ukraine. They're like, we want this war to end. We want peace, but they're more anti-US than they are pro-Russia. They're more anti-US hegemony. and military expansion and that kind of thing, right? And imperial, empire building overseas in foreign countries. They're very skeptical of the U.S. because they've seen the justifications for the Iraq War and Operation Enduring Freedom and Iraq War 2.0 and all that shit. So
the way the media is handling this Ukraine thing feels to me very much like they're handling the jabs thing, right?
Yeah.
Ukraine has lost huge swaths of territory, much of its smaller cities and even places in Kiev are in fucking shambles. Its infrastructure is under constant threat. They have no more money, no more soldiers, and no more weapons that don't come from outside the country. This means they're winning.
Yeah. Putin's losing. He's had setbacks. Yeah. Putin's had setbacks. Sure. Of course he has. He's fighting NATO and Ukraine. So, but did you hear about Elon Musk shutting off Starlink?
Yeah, I don't understand exactly why or how or what.
Well, his whole, I think people, it could be the fact that, one of the foreign ministers in Ukraine, after Musk put out this, this tweet about a peace plan in the region.
Yeah.
Told him to fuck off. He said, fuck off, Elon Musk.
All right, then I'll take my Starlink.
And so, people said, I'm only doing what you asked me. He said, he tweeted, I'm only doing what I was instructed to do.
Wow.
Yeah, he's like, he's great in terms of, he's such a fucking shit poster. He's great. I love him. But yeah, he's like, look, the fact of the matter is it costs a lot of money to keep, to keep those satellites going to, it costs us a lot of money to send you the little dishes, and we're under constant attack. Like Russia's trying to jam Starlink constantly, so they have to constantly address it, and they're doing it pro bono.
Tried to shoot it down.
Well, I don't know about the satellites, but the ground bases, yeah, because there's ground relays as well.
Why couldn't they shoot it out of space?
Like,
they don't have a missile that can go in it.
Oh, maybe. I have no idea. I'm waiting for the day that somebody reveals that, nuclear weapons, those are so last century. We're using mass drivers now. we're just gonna pluck an asteroid out of the sky and just aim it and shoot it down at a city. It's worse than a nuke could ever do. It would completely obliterate an entire city.
I mean, the planet. That's happened several times.
No, I know, but you pick the right size, and you pick the right composition, and you pick the right angle of approach. But yeah, I was reading a book. I don't know, back in college, I was reading a book about how mass drivers are going to be one of the weapons of the future. People are going to launch spacecraft that completely robotic in nature. They don't need to have pilots on these things. Send them out to grab an asteroid and just throw them at the Earth.
Well, what's the thing they actually have now? The they call them the Rod of God or something, where it's just like a whole bunch of 20-foot long, maybe yay big, tungsten.
That's a railgun
strapped together.
That's like a railgun.
Except it doesn't need a rail gun to accelerate it. You just give it a small push from space, and it just keeps accelerating until it heats up in atmosphere, basically becomes a string of liquid tungsten, and it can penetrate like a mile into the Earth.
Probably, yeah. I mean, that'd be great.
Yeah. What's that?
That'd be great drilling technology when you think about it.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, like, the problem with that is that without nuclear fallout, it develops, it creates the same kind of shockwave.
Yeah.
Right, that a nuclear weapon would have. So even though it's a very small target space, and it is supposed to be like kind of a bunker buster, rods of God, thank you, Pox. Yes, like the impact just will wipe out everything nearby, and depending on how big the rod is, you get a bigger shockwave. So
yeah, I have a feeling though, if somebody were going to use what I was talking about, where they grab it, they pluck a asteroid out of the sky and like just pinpoint aim it at a given city, it's not going to be done as a threat. It'll be done surreptitiously, like, oh, what a disaster!
Right,
Who could have
right.
foreseen that coming? You know, and all the scientists who track near Earth objects, they all mysteriously die in a plane crash because they were going to some conference together.
But still, that's sort of like relying on what's the word there? Like a tractor beam idea.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, it's not even like a tractor beam. You just have to find the right asteroid that's in the right at the right distance
and push it.
and shove it
Yeah,
and shove it at the right time towards the right trajectory,
and
and
it'll go
then
faster and faster
yeah,
and
and just
faster until
do the math, right? Do the
yeah.
math and go, okay, that's we wanted to hit this city. We've done the math. We got a 96.8% chance of taking out Lisbon. Yep, this will take out Lisbon. So yeah,
Why Portugal? What did Portugal do?
I just picked a name out of a hat. I don't know. Are they part of NATO? You know, it'll be Russia doing it, right? So anyway,
Oh,
hey Pox, I'm looking forward to our stream in 2 weeks. Just as a friendly reminder, everybody in the chat, we're doing the spooky ammunition stream on October 29th,
that's
right?
right.
Yeah. 29th on my channel. That'll be a Saturday just before Halloween, where you're going to see some spooky people on the screen.
Spooky. Apparently,
Yeah.
we're not allowed to say spooky anymore because it means black people or something.
No, it doesn't.
Also, you can't use the ironic thumbs up because it triggers Zoomers.
What's the ironic thumbs up?
Like, okay, buddy.
Oh, I heard about that. Certain emojis are triggering. Yeah.
Sure they are, pal.
Yeah, it'll be Pox, myself, and Irving. We're going to be doing a three-way.
Gonna run a train on that stream.
That's right. We're going to run a train on that stream. Toot toot.
Oh, I did want to say something about your alt history.
Yeah.
What if alt history? It's interesting too because we're living the alt history right now. Like the way the media portrays the Canadian convoy that is, that led to the Emergencies Act and the inquiry now. They keep talking about like Nazis and, potential crimes and violence. And it's like, hold on. This was a peaceful movement that was so admired worldwide that other nations followed suit first in solidarity just for the fuck of it. And then went, wait a minute, we're already in our cars. Let's go to our own capitals and do this too.
Yeah.
And it happened everywhere. Every fucking where.
Yeah.
Like a fucking leaf.
That's right. A fucking leaf. No, it's true. Like, and I mean, you can try and gaslight everybody into, saying what you want them to believe it is. But the truth is that, you've got leaders in the European Parliament, EU Parliament, calling out the Prime Minister for being a dictator. Leaders of democracies are calling out another democratic leader for being a piece of crap and telling him, get out of this chamber. You shouldn't even be here. I mean, you can try and spin it any way you want. And yeah, you're probably going to convince a bunch of like low information people, some NPCs, that, your narrative is the right one. But, history will bear it out. And history is written by the winners. No, I don't think that's axiomatic. I think memetics wins, and the more robust idea survives longer. So, I mean, take case in point. So, right after Jesus Christ, let's say, was crucified, and then the Christians were being persecuted by the Romans, thrown to lions and that sort of thing, right? I'm sure that the propaganda of the day was that they were dangerous, they were evil, they were all mad cultists, they're going to steal your children and drink their blood. They were probably saying the worst possible things about Christians back then. But reality bore out in the long run and says, no, actually, they were fiercely persecuted in the early days, shortly after his crucifixion. And Christ wasn't a madman, he was actually a martyr, all this sort of stuff, right? So 21st century dictators suck so far. Trudeau doesn't even have a fancy hat or a costume, or he can't even grow a mustache. Well, he had a beard for a while.
Get your game up to Pinochet level, you damn least. Hey, you know what? He doesn't have a fancy hat or costume. He has many fancy hats and costumes.
That's true.
And makeup.
That's true. Yeah.
Jeezy, hello. Thanks for
And
coming.
like, if you look at the numbers of Pinochet versus all the other dictators in history and recent history, 20th century history, I mean, his numbers are low. Like, they're like rookie numbers. He barely killed anybody compared to Mao and Stalin. Like, it was a drop in the bucket. And let's be honest, they were only communists. It's not like they're real people anyway. So
they had larger populations to tap for their
that's true.
murder.
Okay,
right?
I'll give you that. But I mean, he could have done away with a lot more. And correct me if I'm wrong, Mao Zedong didn't step down. Pinochet stepped down. That's a pretty decent dictator, if you ask me. Oh, really? The writing's on the wall? Okay, I don't want to get executed. I'll bow out. Yeah, I hear you. You don't want
I did what I could for you. You'll regret this late.
Well, that's the thing. Like, in this guy in What If Alt Hist was saying, look, what ends up happening is authoritarian dictatorships naturally, like military dictatorships, ultimately cede their power to liberal democracies. You don't see it the other way around. Typically, things have to get really bad for it to devolve into a liberal democracies. Don't typically devolve into military dictatorships. So, but I mean, they can absolutely, but I don't think once they've gone from dictatorship to liberal democracy, they seldom will go back. So he doesn't see there being a military dictatorship in the U.S. But if it does happen, he says it will probably be very efficient. It'll probably actually do some really good stuff. So he's probably likening it to like Chile, right? He's like, yeah, Pinochet was a bad guy, but the fact of the matter is his country prospered under him. And all that had to happen was a few people had to be thrown out of helicopters.
It's an ancient Chinese curse. May you live in interesting times.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yeah, but the funny thing is that most of the people I know, all the normies, don't consider them that interesting. They're kind of depressed by it. Like, oh man, things are fucked up. But I guess, I don't know. I think they've got normalcy bias where they just want to see. They're like, oh well, things like this happen all the time. Nah, we've never been this close to nuclear Armageddon. Sorry, like the Cuban Missile Crisis was pretty spooky, but it was pretty scary. But it wasn't like this.
Yeah, and the warheads at the time were much smaller than now. Exactly. Like it's
kilotons to megatons, man.
I find myself, I hate to admit it, right? Because this is very not Christian at all. I find myself really resenting people. Like I'm just noticing so many people, and like just like that sheep thing, that lemmings joke, how true it rings through all of this, right?
Yeah.
That here it is, the TV's telling you something that is obviously false.
Yeah.
And I can show you the proof, and you don't even want to see it. Like if someone said, no, that's I have the real thing that happened. I have a live stream version of it. They're telling you thing A.
I don't want to look at that shit.
Yep. They don't want to see it.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm having a lot of trouble continuing to see them as people.
I think, it's tough, right? The NPC meme sort of like rings true. It's like, was it Rachel Notley? Was it Rachel? No, it was that Gilmore chick.
The journalist, not the
NPC. Yeah, the Gilmore journalist chick. She's like, everybody seems to think that all of my followers are bots or whatever. Let's prove them wrong. Answer in this thread, I'm not a bot. If you're a real live human, right? and I responded like, bot, NPC, what's the difference?
Yeah. It's terrible. It's terrible because I can very easily see myself succumbing to the exact opposite of what I like say and hold true. That it's like it doesn't matter because they're not real people. Right? This is why I can't have power. So thank you to all the people who have said, "Oh, you should run for prime minister." Nope, you don't want that. Trust me, you don't want that.
I have a feeling that if I were like Prime Minister of Canada, I would probably not be a good person. I don't think I would like uphold the values of democratic leadership. I think I'm in the same boat. I think there'd be a segment of the population that I simply did not respect. But the people that I wouldn't respect would be the people who want to be ruled and want government to tell them what to do. Because I'd be like, look, I'm giving you your freedom whether you want it or not. Quit coming to me and asking for shit. I'm not giving you shit. Here's what I'm giving you. Your money back. Now it's up to you to sort shit out. Well, I can't afford to feed my family. Well, get another fucking job. I'm not taking your money. I've given it all back. So you can't come to the government saying, help me out. Go to the charities. Go to the soup kitchens. Go to the fucking food banks. They exist for a reason.
One of the best things I've seen over the past few days, I can't even describe the guy in the meme. He's like bent forward with his arms out all chicken winged, but his eyes are looking in opposite directions and shit. He's just looking all fucking crazy. It says government institutes ass wiping program. 5 years later, without government, who would wipe our asses?
It's true. It's true, right? But who's going to build the roads? Who's building them now?
See, I would accept this single vote as the majority vote and then just go ahead and do it. Like, this is what the people want. That 90%, they're not people.
Yeah.
Which is terrible because that's exactly what apparently fucking Pfizer wanted.
Yeah.
I'd
be of the mind, why do you want to be elected to office, Mr. Bragg? I want to destroy government from the inside. I want to relinquish the power that government has over people's lives, and I want to give it back to them, and then just shut it down, shut it all down.
Well, yeah. What's that other meme from years ago? Libertarians plotting to take over the world and leave you the fuck alone.
That's right. Yeah, my response to anybody saying, "Sir, the people are wondering what you're going to do about this." My canned response will be, "Not my monkey, not my circus."
Oh man.
No, I think I'd institute a Starship Troopers kind of thing. I'd have super suffrage, like I keep talking about, and yeah, I would say, okay, here's our responsibility as the federal government. We're going to make sure that the borders are safe, and we're going to make sure that nobody attacks us. Everything else is up to the provinces and the municipalities. Peace out.
You're that sounds very much sort of like the early Spartans.
Yeah.
Right? Like even Spartans who were born of Spartans, because there's 3 distinct classes in the Spartan society. Their citizenship was not guaranteed. Right? Your mother could be the daughter of the fucking king, right? The oligarch. Your father could be a veteran soldier. Your citizenship isn't guaranteed. You don't get a vote. You got to go through the agoge and survive. You got to become a soldier and earn your citizenship.
Yeah.
Right? It's and then there's groups that can never attain citizenship. And for the middling class, it was not impossible, but incredibly rare to actually be able to elevate yourself to citizen. Right.
Well, I mean, you think about like voting rights in the modern context where, everybody has suffrage, everybody gets to vote. Just by virtue, like the Democrats in the United States, they want to make anybody who happens to have a pulse and be in the United States. Hell, you don't even have to be in the United States. Anyone can vote. And you don't even need a pulse. That's why there's so many dead people on the voter roll. Because they don't believe in democracy, they believe in power. But they want to give everybody the right to vote, 16 and up. And if they're willing to give that to everybody, it means they don't value it very much. So no, I'm of the mind that, you know what, no, it needs to be. I like the idea of, citizenship granting you the right to choose leadership. I get that. But I think people who actually involve themselves in being citizens, like working for their community, should get special treatment at the polls. That's all. Get an extra vote. Firefighter gets an extra vote. Cop gets an extra vote. Ambulance, well, maybe not ambulance, maybe ambulance.
Yeah.
People who put their lives at risk as part of their duties, soldiers,
of course,
get an extra vote. And then if you put an extra, if you as a private citizen with your single, I pay taxes, therefore I get a vote. If you do extra work for the community, you get an extra vote.
I've known a few EMS people.
Yeah.
It's fucking hell out there.
Oh, I no doubt.
Right.
But
they get a vote.
Fair enough. I mean, the fact is their line of work serves their community. It's not they put themselves in danger, but they put themselves in danger in the abstract sense, whereas cops and firefighters run into burning buildings and run and confront criminals who mean to do harm to other people. EMS workers, like ambulance drivers, that sort of thing, they're like, you're in trouble, I'm going to try and help you, save you from dying, which is great. But you're right, they often have to put themselves in situations that endanger themselves to do that. I get it.
Not even that. It's fucking gross.
Yeah, no doubt.
Like it's grosser than, say, cops or firefighters on a regular basis. Because a lot of times firefighters and cops, a lot of cops go their entire lives without drawing their gun.
True.
Right? A lot of firefighters will go to a burning building and no one is dead. It's just the building is on fire.
Sure.
Paramedics are only going to where people are dying or at risk of dying, like constantly. Yeah. It's really rough.
I have a friend who's a firefighter, and he's saying, yeah, it's pretty, because when there's a like a terrible car accident or something, where somebody fucking throws himself off of a building or a bridge, and 911 gets called, normally it's fire, ambulance, and police all converge. It's generally the firefighters have to clean it up. They have to scoop up the remains. They have to hose it down because they have access to the city water. So they see it all, right? So it's got to be pretty traumatizing for them too. So
it just
I don't envy any of them. They all do work that most people wouldn't want to do. I've got a friend who works for the city, and she hates firefighters. She hates them because they're very entitled. I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah, but you're not going to hate them if your house starts burning down. You're going to love them then when they're saving you and your husband from certain death.
But these people is also why I can't accept that thing from that video with that guy blowing that smoke about the unvaccinated and put up with all day made of the best stuff. No, like we got a particular thing. There's a lot of other people made with better stuff. Right? Oh, yeah. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. But I guess to his point, people who, good, decent people were marginalized for no other reason than for not doing. They didn't do anything wrong, right? And they didn't choose to be marginalized. You could say, well, they chose not to get vaccinated. No, they made a medical choice that everybody's entitled to at any other time in human history. But for whatever reason, this time in human history, it was considered a terrible thing for them to exercise their medical right, their choice of treatment, right? But I mean, people who turned it down would have been firefighters and ambulance workers and stuff like that. But a lot of them are like, no, can do more good as a firefighter, or I can do more good as an ambulance driver. So I'll take it for the team and I'll get the job, even though I don't necessarily want to. Voting should be based on your physical fitness. Can't run a 5K in under 20 minutes? No vote, fatty. that would leave me out, and I don't even consider myself very fat. So
Last I was actually like timing my runs was 3.3 kilometers in about 17 minutes. So I mean, it's not outside my reach.
you must really want that vote if you're gonna put the extra effort into run.
Cardio builds quick, right? You
Yeah.
got to do it every day. That's all.
Yeah. No, I mean the U.S. at the beginning was just landowners, people who own property could vote, but nobody else could.
Yeah.
So.
Stakeholders.
Oh yeah.
God. Fucking, he's on to something, that Schwab.
Yeah, stakeholder investment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I had a
what
thought.
What else is happening in the world?
Let's see, nuclear war.
Oh, you heard about the different premiers come out and saying, "Yeah, we're not going to help you buy back those guns. We're not going to help you confiscate."
Only the West, though, right? Like Alberta and Saskatchewan, no?
Alberta, Saskatchewan, Yukon, and I think Manitoba now. That's 4.
Okay, Manitoba, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's a lot of wilderness. It's not really human.
But even still, it's like they're doing it under the auspices of, look, this is not, we get to decide how we're going to utilize police forces in this province, and confiscating legally acquired firearms is not high on our priority list. So no, we're not going to help the RCMP. Now I wonder how Yukon's going to do it, because basically in Yukon, their whole police force is the RCMP. They don't typically have local police, right? So if the RCMP decides they're going to do it, they're going to do it.
Do the territories have premiers? Is that what they're called? Or do they have something else?
Probably. I don't know.
Just deputize all of your citizens with guns. They are now your de facto provincial police force.
There you go.
Done.
Okay, so maybe I don't have to run for prime minister. I could run for premier of Ontario. And just change the laws. Say, everybody has the right to carry if they want.
I imagine you'd
run you still have to get licensed by the RCMP through the firearm safety program.
No.
But
once better idea. Create an Ontario program.
There you go. The Ontario program will be for carrying. If you want to carry, you go through the Ontario program.
Fucking based.
So you don't have to, but you can. I mean, Alberta's doing that, right? They're doing an Alberta Firearms Act.
It's
like a sovereignty by a million little cuts. That's how they're doing it. They're basically declaring their sovereignty through tiny little actions that ultimately untether them to Ottawa.
Well, I mean, even way back when, right? There was this whole, all the provinces have to have a provincial sales tax. And Alberta went, nope.
No.
And that was the end of it. Like, we're not doing it.
Yeah. And then you think of Saskatchewan. We're doing this daylight savings thing. Saskatchewan's like, no. We're not doing it. And then you got Newfoundland. Newfoundland is like, okay, so the time zones are divided up here. Well, we're only going to take 30 minutes. We're only going to move forward 30 minutes.
We're not that far over. We're not a full hour.
We're not that far over. So we'll just move forward 30 minutes. When you get off our shores on the east side, then's the next time zone. Fuck. And I mean, hey, if Quebec can say have their language laws in place, that's an exercise of sovereignty. All your signs have to be in French. All your kids have to learn French. We don't care what your background is. You got to learn French.
It's also an exercise in severe discrimination, right?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Yeah. It's why my wife's parents left Quebec. They had a business in Quebec, and it was making it very difficult for them to do their business. And they're like, you know what? Screw it. We're moving to Ontario. And they did. They picked up and moved to Ontario.
A lot of Anglophones did that in the 70s and 80s. That they were just like, I'm out. I can't do it.
It'll happen again. The more and more they try and institute more of this stuff, you're going to get more and more people. I mean, Viva Fry moved to Florida, for Christ's sakes. He says he's there temporarily, but I wonder how long he's going to stay there,
I'm getting ready to ask Six to marry me again.
There you
I'm
go.
that fed up. He said no the first time. I understand.
Well, just domestic partnership then.
Well, no, see, like, there's so many ridiculous loopholes based on the current cultural paradigms. Like, we could literally get married and then continue to fucking date women and just
Sure.
say we're polyamorous.
Yeah.
Yeah, like who you can't question. What would it be? Immigration and Homeland that would be coming to interview us? Yeah, we have separate bedrooms for our polyamory. Like,
yeah. He's my platonic life partner. That's what you call him. We're platonic life partners. What does that mean? It means we have a platonic relationship, but we're dedicated to one another, and we're going to live together forever until we get sick of each other, and then we'll divorce.
You know, after the 3-year minimum or whatever it is there.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah. Well, you're here now. You're landed. You're a legal resident. Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad idea, right? The government wants to get involved in marriage, and they got to take the good with the bad. You know, you made the rule based on marriage, so.
See, but that's exactly why the government has to somewhat be involved in marriage, because I married this person who lived in another country. Well, they can't come here. Well, fuck. Like, no, they have to do immigration separately than marriage. Like, the government has to have some sort of proper record, right? Like,
Right.
but that's
you
a
could
longer
just say you're married to anybody, right? Yeah, I get you. But I mean, the thing is, like, the church could provide those records. Or where were you married? We were married in her church in Croatia. Okay, do you have those records? Yeah, here they are. All right, she's clearly your wife. So welcome to the United States. You know. Yeah, maybe I'll see if I can find somebody to. Oh no, I'm already married. Damn.
3 years is the plan. What happens after for Viva Fry?
Oh, he's gonna stay there for 3 years?
I guess that's how long his visa is, right?
Oh, he's got a 3-year sort of work visa.
Joke's on you, Jeezy. I am a power bottom.
What is a power bottom? Does that mean you clench your anus really hard?
Okay, so look, you're married, so you can't talk about this, but have you ever had a gal who's like on her knees in front of you and she seems to be doing all the work?
Okay, I know what you're talking about then.
Yeah, there you go.
I hear you.
Yeah.
No, I'd like to see as much of the United States before it disintegrates into a full-scale civil war dystopian nightmare.
Yeah. I mean, see, but Texas won't. Like, the borders of Texas will never be infringed. Like, it just every Texan will just line up on the border, and it'll be like, don't even fucking try.
They don't have to, right? Because the border's all it's all desert. Everybody's got to get through the desert to get to any of the major city centers.
Beautiful, beautiful state.
Yeah, Arizona's nice too, Jeezy. I'd like to go to Arizona too. And land was cheap in Arizona, but it was like northeast Arizona. It was really cheap.
Yeah, no, I mean, Arizona's on my list for sure. And not that I'm accepting your proposal, but also New Mexico. And then to a lesser degree, Florida. And honestly, like, just the shit that happened with how was the name of this hurricane?
Oh, yeah, Fiona.
Was it Fiona? And then there was
Irma.
Ian.
Was it
Irma.
Ian? Yeah.
Just like, God, I don't think I could fucking do that unless I can find a place that's like, is there somewhere in Florida, northern-ish Florida, that's like a well above sea level that you can find fairly cheap property? Like,
just build your house on stilts, for Christ's sakes.
that doesn't protect you from the hurricane, though, from the winds and shit. Of course,
Well, okay, so you build your house out of concrete in a dome formation, so the wind just flies over top of it, and then you have it on concrete pillars, so the water rises and your shit doesn't get flooded. And have a boat. Have a boat in your garage, or have one of those what do you call it, amphibious cars.
I saw this picture floating around for a couple of days during the hurricane from inside someone's house, and they have these weird floor to ceiling windows in the house.
I saw that too.
And outside, the water is easily like chest high.
Yeah.
And someone finally grabs a picture, is like, the window installer doesn't need any advertising ever again. Just post this up and go, we installed this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, but like Arizona, Florida, New Mexico, and Texas, not only for the weather, because I could do without another Canadian winter for the rest of my days. I don't need to see snow again, honestly. Yeah. But the lax gun laws, right? Yeah. The really like open carry kind of ideas, and not that I actually would open carry, but just like knowing that I can, and my neighbor might be. Yeah.
I like New Hampshire personally. I mean, I get the Canadian weather, but their state motto is live free or die, for crying out loud. So, and libertarians are taking over the entire state. So ultimately it's going to be like a libertarian paradise, which could be good, could be bad.
But weather-wise, it's like living in fucking Quebec.
Yeah.
Right? Short, hot summers and long, cold fucking winters. I'm done.
Yeah, but it's not that far a drive if I want to go to Chesapeake and play Ballahack Airsoft. It's a hell of a lot easier than driving from Ontario.
I don't need snow. I don't need it anymore.
Irving will build the hideout from the Legion of Doom on his Florida property. Do you imagine? That'd be so cool. That fucking skull-headed round building that rose out of the swamp every time they got together. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
See my skulls. It's Halloween.
It is. I ordered a flag, I ordered a variation on the Gadsden flag.
Okay.
It's a Canada Goose, and the slogan says, "Fuck a boot and find oot."
Yes, yeah. There's quite a few goose variations of the goose.
I thought I'm like, fuck a boot and find oot. I thought that was so funny. I'm like, I gotta get that, so I ordered it.
One of my favorites though was "Please leave me alone."
Please leave me alone. Yeah. I saw one of the snake getting its head stepped on, and it's saying, "This is exactly what I asked you not to do." Just run through this from CTV that Canadian home energy costs to spike up by up to 100% on average this winter. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, they're trying to make it impossible for you to live, and then they're going to. And then there's going to be a global depression. I've said this before. There's going to be a global recession followed by a global depression. They're going to try and institute a digital currency in all the Western nations. The United States is already trying to do it. And then when there's a full-scale collapse of the economic system, the WF is going to swoop in and say, look, we can save everybody. Here are the rules. Oh, you got some debt? Okay, well, we've got a pod for you. And here's your cricket. Here's your I can't believe it's crickets burger. They come in a box of 12 patties. You just keep them frozen, and yep. So we're looking at.
I heard some interesting things. Now, I don't know why our energy costs would spike up that much. Doesn't make a lot of sense. We're oil rich. we're mineral rich, we're coal rich. We shouldn't have that kind of problem.
No, we shouldn't.
But WEF is too exposed now. Again, let me hold on, preface this. Conspiracy theory. Okay. WEF is not a conspiracy theory. What do you call a conspiracy theory when the perpetrators of the conspiracy theory say it to your face over the internet and on television?
It's a full-fledged conspiracy.
Open conspiracy, right?
Yeah.
Where Klaus Schwab says you will own nothing, have no privacy, and you'll be happy.
Yeah.
They may have overplayed their hand.
I think they did.
They're exposed. But the idea that there's one evil cabal is naive. There are many.
Yeah.
And some other one is going to swoop in the guise of something like a Donald Trump or a Ron DeSantis, a Pierre Poilievre, who's not the Maxime Bernier, and maybe it is Maxime Bernier, who knows, with the solution to the problems created by the WEF agents that have been actively destroying our economies and removing our rights. And they're going to say they're the solution, and people are going to be aching for it, and they're going to institute the digital IDs, digital currencies, all of this, easily switched off Eunice. And we're going to, because of the way the holes exist, they're going to be able to fill them, and we're going to buy it. That's the real
I could see that happening. I could see them like setting WEF being set up as sort of like a smoke screen, like a red herring.
No.
Not a smoke screen, but like we're big and evil, but in reality, well, the thing is, I don't think Klaus Schwab and the WEF adherents consider themselves to be evil. I think they consider themselves to be magnanimous. The problem is that they did overplay their hand, but they've got too many people in positions of power that are willing to push forward anyway. And I'm not even convinced that they're going to necessarily succeed at it. I think what's going to happen is they're just going to cause a lot of misery in trying to implement it. So if the goal of the WEF is to have everybody living in pods, everybody being a serf, and everybody eating bugs, it's not going to happen like in the short to medium term. It'll happen long term. But by 2100, we're all going to be living in pods and eating bugs. But we're actually going to like it. You know what I mean? It's not going to be 2030, it'll be 2100, because they're going to make the bugs taste just like top sirloin.
I mean, that's not going to happen. You can't do that with bugs. It's just not possible.
Well, we're talking 78 years in the future.
But I don't think it's a grander conspiracy where the WEF is a smokescreen. I think the WEF is the group that it is and is trying to do this. But there are other groups that also want wealth and power and control. Right? And if they fall on their face, the WEF, some other group will swoop in with the guise of, we are the good guys, but they aren't. They're just another WEF doing the same thing. And they'll happily stand on the heads of those WEF members to get their way instead, which is literally the same way.
But here's the thing. If they're going to do it under the auspices of, we're going to expand freedom, we're going to make your life better by expanding your freedom, and then in practice, they do the exact opposite, they're going to be held to account for it. Because if you got Maxime Bernier saying, we want to institute a more liberty-minded system of governance where people have more control over their lives, and then after he gets into power, he starts implementing things that are the exact opposite of what he professes, well, then the people who supported him are not going to support him again. They're going to call for his head, right? Whereas you've got guys like Trudeau and Freeland who say, no, we're doing this because we're better than you. We know what you need, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, but the lemmings are okay with that.
Yeah.
That's why I'm afraid. That's why I am having trouble. Yeah. Not resenting their existence. Like it's so and they'll just be like, "Oh, Maxime Bernier said all those terrible things about freedom that I didn't like, and now He's going to be my new daddy. Okay, great.
Could be. Could be.
It's not to cast shade on Maxime Bernier, but I mean, it could be anybody. Like we don't really know until the proof is going to be in the pudding and nowhere else.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I think it's like we always get into this trap of saying, if only we elected good leaders, then we could actually, have a good life and have good governance. The issue is not who's in power. The issue is the system that is in place, because the fact of the matter is it's a broken system that's dirty, and anybody who gets in the arena is going to get dirty. So even the most well-intentioned, this is the thing, like you get people like AOC, Maxime Bernier, Pierre Poilievre, all these people who have, these noble intentions. Then they get into the system and they realized how it's actually played, the game is played, and they're like, okay, I have to sacrifice some of my scruples in order to get the things that I want done. So, okay, I will abdicate my morals. I will say, okay, yeah, I'll make these concessions to things I hold strongly, because the bigger picture is I can get this one policy done, and that's really important to me. And then they end up becoming, corrupted. That's the problem. The system is prone to corruption. And the only way I can see it being fixed is you take the power out of government and you turn it into nothing more than simply a civil service. Government shouldn't have the kind of control over people's lives and over systems that it does. What's that?
But
then you're right. But then the problem is we have tyrants who are like corporate overlords, right? They're the ones that are deciding whether or not you can eat or post on social media, because they control it all through the market, through their control of the market. But I don't know. At least in that instance, I can go to a competitor. I can't do the same thing with government, especially if they're all in on the game.
Yeah.
But
I mean, and part of the problem is that it's infected education, right? That it's gone into this like we don't teach what government is correctly.
No.
Right? Like, you're a libertarian. I'm fairly libertarian, but I want to say I'm libertarian first and conservative second. But I hate government so much it's unreal. Not the government. Like, yes, the government, Trudeau's government is hate-worthy. It deserves it. But government in general is like, ugh. Like, it's, but I also understand, being a conservative, that it's necessary.
Sure.
Right? It's a sewer system. It's a garbage dump. We have to have one.
No, absolutely. I'm not an ANCAP. I don't believe that we should get rid of the government altogether. I'm a minarchist. I think the government that governs least governs best. And I think the government should take care of those things that it is truly mandated to take care of. Protecting our rights, protecting our border, and establishing a judiciary that upholds the protection of people's rights and the protection of people's property. That's it. Everything else should be handled by voluntary interactions of individuals and organizations.
Yeah. In my youth, I bought the lie about government, like, that the job of government is like to do healthcare and education to support the overall society. And a man much wiser than me told me, no, the role of government is to create an environment that is free of banditry, basically, so that people are free to live and earn that living. And that's all. And it took me a long time to actually accept that.
Is there a Canadian style barbecue?
Okay,
we like our burgers. I know that.
Is there a Canadian style barbecue? Okay, so there's no like flavor palette for barbecuing. We're great at smoking, but that's not ours. That's something that we've learned from others. But it's not different. Like I mean, Texas smoking, you do that mesquite thing, right? I
Yeah,
think they do good smokes in because geez, there's a whole family of barbecue. Like if you go into cooking, you'll find that there are 5 mother sauces that all come from the French cuisine, right?
yeah,
But the Americas have barbecue,
yeah.
and there are 4 major schools of barbecue. Is Canada a fifth? No. Uh,
No, we
but the
just
thing that we do that nobody else does is we barbecue in -40.
that's true.
We
That's true.
gather around the barbecue the same way you would a fire pit, and we barbecue wings and ribs and steaks in the icy cold in a foot of snow. We will barbecue if we feel like it.
Yeah,
So that is, I guess, a style, but not really a flavor palette or a technique. But
but,
yeah,
but I think we like maple. We like maple in our smoking.
yeah. I
So
see, but here's the problem: is is it South Carolina? Is that one of the 4 that they have? Yeah, maple barbecue, right? And that's very a kind of American
yeah,
barbecue
yeah,
style, right? Very sweet as opposed
yeah,
to
yeah. We
kind
don't.
of
We don't.
spicy or savory.
Canadian cuisine can be summed up with Nanaimo bars and poutine. Those are the two big things that in Canadian cuisine: Nanaimo bars and poutine. And I don't even think Nanaimo bars are specifically from Nanaimo. I think that's what we call them. But there's another type of custard, chocolate, coconutty, square dessert from somewhere else that is exactly the same. But we call them Nanaimo bars.
So we always leave one out. Poutine is the one that got famous around the world. The thing that got us from settlers to a community, along with maple syrup. The maple tree was a huge boon to us. Pea and pork soup.
Yeah, that's true.
Habitant.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
a French thing. Split pea soup with pieces of pork in it. Um, and it's a rather recent invention, but I don't think they have this in the United States. Donair. That comes from
Donair.
Nova Scotia. It's basically a gyro or souvlaki, but it has a sweet garlic sauce as opposed to like a tzatziki sauce.
I was going to say it's Canadian tzatziki. Yeah. Like
Yeah,
it's, yeah.
yeah. It
Uh,
got its start in Nova Scotia, and it's fucking delicious. I love Donair. I love Donair. There's a place called Halifax Donair. They've got a store in Milton. They used to have a place in Burlington, but they closed the one in Burlington up. But they have a Donair pizza. Absolutely amazing. I know you're not going to think it's good because you're like, pizza's this, and that's all
no,
pizza is.
not even that. I got an opinion on pizza from you before, and I just don't trust you on pizza anymore. That's all.
Well, look, I call it pizza, even though it's not traditional pizza. Okay, how about this? It's
I don't eat
flatbread with Donair on it.
I don't eat always traditional pizza. Okay, I enjoy the junk food pizza, but you said Papa John's, and I was like, guy, this doesn't even hold up to pizza.
Oh, you're wrong there. I have to. Pizza tastes like it comes out of a fucking can. I hate pizza. I hate it. What are Taco Bells like in Canada? Um, the meat is worse.
So
Yeah,
it's 12% seasoning. That's how crazy it is.
yeah,
It's 88% beef and 12% other things.
yeah.
It's nuts.
I like Taco
We
Bell, but it's just like the U.S. stuff. I don't think we have anything in Canada Taco Bell that's different from U.S. Taco Bell.
um wait,
Like
we have
menu item.
Fry Supreme.
Do you guys have Fry Supreme in the U.S.? Fry Supreme, basically French fries with all the taco shit on top of them. The queso cheese, pineapple, and
Unsubscribe.
ham must be put on pizza. Well,
Unsubscribe. You are no longer welcome on these streams.
I don't agree with you, Costin, but I don't think that they don't belong on pizza. I think Hawaiian pizza is a perfectly reasonable pizza configuration. If you want to put pineapple on your pizza,
are we gonna have to stop streaming together? Like this
knock
is
yourself up. Look, it's not for everybody, but I'm not so vehemently opposed to different menu items. Hey, man, I put anchovies on pizza. I know plenty of people don't like anchovies on pizza.
If it comes out of the sea, I'll eat it. All right, that's no. Someone put it this way: you can put pineapple on pizza if you also put jalapenos or some other like spicy banana peppers, something like that, because that spicy burns away the degeneracy of the pineapple.
I don't mind pineapple on pizza. It's not my first go-to. When I'm ordering pizza, my typical pizza, if I'm ordering it, and it's not going to be Papa John's Philly cheesesteak pizza or Papa John's Donair pizza, I will get bacon, mushrooms, tomato is typically what I'll get.
Okay. That's a pretty good flavor combo. I'll give you that one. I used to have like pepperoni, bacon, mushroom all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then someone brought me bacon and mushroom with no pepperonis. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Completely different flavor profile by pulling out the pepperoni. It's great.
What does the Kraft company call American cheese products in Canada? We just call them Kraft singles.
And Kraft dinner. You call it macaroni and cheese. We call it Kraft dinner.
We call it Kraft mac and cheese. We call it Kraft dinner. But I think he's talking about American cheese, which is individually wrapped slices of cheese
in
a package. We just call them Kraft singles. Cheese whiz. Yeah, that's like your Velveeta creamy cheese, right? I don't mind jalapenos on pizza, but again, it has to go with the right thing. I remember in college one time we ordered pizza from a local place, and for whatever reason, they decided, hey, let's get sausage and let's get onions. And I don't remember what the other topping was, but for whatever reason, the combination of this particular sausage and these particular onions made it taste like Snatch. And it was then called Snatch Pizza. And like every other Friday, hey man, you want to order some Snatch Pizza tonight? Because I mean, it was just a really weird flavor profile. It wasn't like, oh, this is disgusting, I can't eat it. But it's like, this just tastes weird. And
no,
it was akin
to eating Snatch.
It was akin to Snatch, so they're like, they just started calling it Snatch Pizza.
Yeah,
cheese. We have cheese whiz in Canada too.
Jalapeno and white onion or red onion.
I don't like red onion. I don't like red onion anytime, anywhere. I prefer sweet onion, but white onion's fine too.
I mean,
the Dahlia onions, those are the sweet ones. Are the Dahlia onions?
They're pretty sweet, but they have a bite as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I don't know what to do with red onion. I don't like the taste of red onion. I don't know why.
It depends. Like I don't want a red onion on my burger.
No.
But in a proper garden salad, just like iceberg lettuce, tomato, red onion, that's quite nice.
Yeah. I prefer like green onion, like scallions in a salad.
Scallions are always nice, a little sweet. But like no, the long green onions, like the tiny leeks.
Yeah. Chop them up.
I can put those in a lot of things. They make a big difference. They're just a
white onions. We put it on pizza with jalapenos in Texas. Yeah, that'd be okay.
Yeah, the nice sweetness of the white, hardly any bite, and you know what? The jalapeno will overpower the bite of the white onion.
Yeah. And Costin, you're right. Deluxe pizza, like pizza's deluxe pizza, you're right, is green pepper, pepperoni, and onions. I think mushroom. I think mushrooms are on there too.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, green green pepper, pepperoni, and mushrooms.
Yeah,
That's
that's the
the one.
deluxe. That's the pizza's deluxe.
And honestly, I think in Canada, at least at Pizza, they call that Canadian.
No, I think Canadian is pepperoni bacon. Pepperoni
No,
bacon and tomato. That's Canadian.
I'll have
Look
to
it up.
look into it.
Yeah, I'll Google pizza's Canadian bacon. Canadian pizza.
Because yeah, like they don't even use bacon; they use bacon crumble.
Yeah.
Bacon crumble's okay, but I don't know. Do you guys six? Do you have Pizza Nova down there?
439. Oh, Pizza Nova.
Because Pizza Nova is by far, at least for me. I mean, anyone can disagree and be wrong. That's fine. But Pizza Nova is by far the best fast food pizza. Uh, it's yeah, greasy enough, thin crust, uh, great toppings, just delicious.
Pizza has a donair pizza as well.
Okay, all right.
I don't like donair. I don't like pizza though. So
See, pizza for me is like pizza pockets or pizza pops. It's not great, but in a pinch, it's doable. And I can enjoy it. But the
yeah,
Papa John's is like one of those things like I ate it. I'm not mad I ate it, but honestly, on my list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm not gonna go to it again. I'm just not.
that's fine. You know what? You're entitled to your opinion. I don't agree with you. I think their clarified butter garlic dipping sauce is what makes that pizza magnifique. So a medium Canadian pizza topped with this is Pizza's Canadian pizza.
Okay.
Classic pepperoni, fresh mushrooms, bacon crumble, and mozzarella cheese.
Huh. Weird.
Yeah.
But I mean, 2 porks and a mushroom, that sounds pretty Canadian.
Yep.
I'll give them that. Like Toronto, one of its nicknames was Hogtown. People don't know that.
Hogtown?
Right? Hogtown.
Yeah, Toronto used to be called Hogtown, yeah.
Yeah. Also the Big Smoke. Right. This is where we did the steel smelting and the pork slaughtering.
Yeah. And then the place got rich and they said, you know what, take all that shit over to Hamilton.
The Hammer means Hamilton.
Yeah, the Hammer. I remember in high school, it was considered pretentious when people in the suburbs like Burlington or Oakville would say, let's go into the city. They meant Toronto, right? Hey, you want to go into the city? What do you mean into the city? Let's go to Toronto. Why did you say let's go to Toronto? Because there's like 3 cities nearby. What are you talking about?
Oh, see, like it's not even like, no, they were right, and it was pretentious at the same time.
Yeah.
Toronto is the city that has absorbed you.
Yeah.
Like you are now part of the GTHA. They don't even mention you. The Greater Toronto and Hamilton area, Burlington's just included. Like
yeah. But here's the thing, though. I'm talking. This was 1980s, before we were part of the Greater Toronto area. We were still considered a suburb of the city, but we were still considered our own unique entity. So Toronto was separate from us. So we would call going into Toronto is going into the city.
But it was already true, right? Like
it might have been, but not officially.
Half. No, like God, within the GTA, not even including Hamilton, in the GTA, and I think you're part of that too.
Oh, we might be.
Yeah, the Greater Toronto area.
Yeah.
You're looking at almost a third of all Canadians.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
Well, it used to be called Metro Toronto, and Metro Toronto was all of the little suburb, like all the little boroughs outside of
5 boroughs, yeah.
downtown. Yeah, so you had Scarborough, Etobicoke, North York. Where else? I can't remember the other ones, but that was Metro Toronto. And then you had the Greater Toronto area, which would be Mississauga, Oakville,
Brampton,
Burlington,
Oakville,
Brampton,
yeah.
yeah, Oshawa,
Yeah, Pickering.
Markham, yeah.
And, yeah, now it's like it's so disgusting how many people have flocked to this tiny little area and claim to be Canadian when for decades it was known throughout Canada that Toronto is the least Canadian place in Canada.
Yeah, it's the most American city, right? In Canada.
God, it is New York Junior, and it's kind of ironic that Steve Martin, the Canadian comedian and actor, had the best joke throughout all of the series 30 Rock that takes place in New York,
Steve
where
Martin.
Steve Martin. Yeah.
He's not Canadian, is he?
Yes.
Get out of here.
Of course he is.
Where the hell was Steve Martin born? I always thought he was an American.
No, I'm pretty sure he's Canadian. He's one of the Canadians, like with along with what's his name there, Rick Moranis. Who's the other guy?
Dave
John
Thomas,
Candy.
John
Yeah,
Candy.
right. And he's telling Liz Lemon, "Oh, you come with me to Toronto. You'll love Toronto. It's just like New York, but without all the stuff."
Steve Martin was born in Waco, Texas.
Fuck off, really?
He was born in Waco, Texas. You might be thinking Martin Short.
Martin Short, yeah, I know he's Canadian, but I swear to God, Steve Martin was Canadian.
No, he was born in Texas.
Who are his parents? Early life.
I'm not going to get into that. He might have lived in Toronto at one point. It's quite true. Dan Aykroyd's Canadian for sure.
Yeah.
John Candy.
Yeah.
Eugene Levy.
So, funny story. My mom was older than them, but her brother went to high school with John Candy and Dan Aykroyd.
Oh, yeah? That's cool.
And Jane Curtin.
Yep.
Is
She's
that
also
the
Canadian.
name of the mom in Home Alone?
That's right.
Yeah. And they all came to my mom's brother, my uncle's funeral.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
That's cool. Well, I mean,
that's
it's not
fucked
really
up,
cool,
right?
but yeah.
That's fucked up.
Uh,
I was 3, so I wouldn't have. I had no idea what was happening. But
wow.
yeah,
I went to college with a guy who went to the same high school as the Bare Naked Ladies.
nice.
That doesn't make any. That's nothing to me, but. Oh, what's his name? Olympic athlete, fastest man alive. What was his name?
Usain Bolt or
No.
our guy,
Our guy. What was his name?
Donovan Bailey.
Donovan Bailey went to my high school.
I did a couple of videos on him. He ruined everything.
He turned into a dick, eh? Turned out, hey, this guy, Olympic athlete, big, local hero. He's a total piece of shit.
We have some weird ass fucking drinking and driving laws because of Donovan Bailey. Do you know that?
Yeah.
That twice he wrapped his fucking car around a pole. He might have killed somebody in one incident. And what he did was use his incredible flash-like speed to run home and drink so that they couldn't charge him with drinking and driving at the time, because he said, I was so stressed out, I had to go have some drinks. And now
They can't prove it, right?
But now, if you have a cop as a neighbor who doesn't like you and you come home and open a beer and drink the beer, That cop can come to your door, demand entry, get entry without a warrant, and say, because you are now drunk, I can charge you with drunk driving because
Yeah.
you like
That was the implication of the law that they passed. Yeah. Yeah. That you could be charged after the fact. Like they didn't have to catch you operating the vehicle while you were intoxicated. If they can reasonably assume that you were intoxicated after exiting your vehicle, then you could be charged with driving while intoxicated. And I mean, I guess it makes sense. Comes down to blood alcohol level, right? Like if you went home and took a shot of whiskey, your blood alcohol level would be of a certain would be at a certain range. And if you had nothing to drink before that, they'd be able to tell whether or not you had something to drink before that one shot of whiskey. Now, if you chugged a bottle, I think that might make it more difficult. But yeah, no, it is like I remember that law being passed. I'm like, that's crazy. Like, how can you be charged after the fact? They didn't catch you committing a crime. Like that's the equivalent
yeah.
of like uh your neighbor sees you bringing a TV in the house, and then he says, "I think you stole that TV, and because you didn't have that TV yesterday, we're going to charge you with theft." I feel like Canadian pizza is just shitty whiskey maple syrup poured onto some dough. Actually, whiskey infused pizza sounds great.
Just for the record, it's really good whiskey and maple syrup poured onto some dough.
Yeah,
All right.
exactly.
I
Canadians
wanna
don't make
clear that
Canadians
up.
don't make bad whiskey.
Even our rye that is not exactly to my flavor will often do in a pinch. And
Yeah.
it's yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm out at a bar, I'm not buying anything fancy. When I'll say I have a rye and Coke. Oh, do you have a preference for rye? I'm like, just the well rye, whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
whatever.
and you know what?
CC is fine. Thank you very much.
This motherfucker's from Kentucky. I think he would appreciate some rye that actually has a lot of good qualities in common with
Bourbon.
bourbons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up on CC. I don't mean I grew up on it, but my formative drinking career, it was either Bacardi rum and Coke or CC and Coke. Those are my two drinks.
And a good Canadian rye has a lot in common, flavor-wise, palate-wise, with a good bourbon.
Mhm.
So, but he's just fucking with us. I know he is.
Yeah, I'm almost exclusively now rum and Coke guy. Cuba
Cuba
Libras, baby.
Libre. Yeah.
Cuba Libre. Speaking of Cuba Libras, I'm gonna go get myself a drink. I'll be back. It won't be rum and Coke, but I'm gonna go get a drink.
Sure.
Talk amongst
I
yourselves.
find rums are often a little too sweet to drink. No, I'm trying to fill the air. Hurry up.
All right, go ahead.
For me, a little too sweet. I prefer a bit of spice in my drink, a bit of earthy. Uh, that's why I tend towards the whiskeys. This is not a rye. It's a good Canadian barley-based whiskey. But let's look at some of these questions. Do y'all prefer thin crust, crunchy thin crust, or thick crust? All of the above in the appropriate moment. It's a mood. Thin crust is more traditional, and it gives you access to the flavors of the toppings without being overpowered by bread. Crunchy thin crust is just like cook it a little longer, you're good to go. Thick crust, sometimes you're just fucking hungry, and you want your pizza to fill you up, and that'll do. You know, uh, New Orleans pizza, Costin's favorite place. I like pizza slices when they were downtown, but otherwise, man, never had Pizza Nova. Pizza Nova, if you have one nearby, totally worth it. It's one of the best fast food pizza places that you can get. They're pretty uniform all across the province, as far as I know. Canadian pizza has ketchup for sauce because marinara is too spicy. I think there's some tomato in there. Toronto is evil. Yes, Costin, I know. I can't help it. Has been infested with this evil. Because you've been here too. We're all infested with this evil. Steve Martin may have grown up in Canada, but he was born in Texas. Okay, I'll give you that. But also, he did grow up in Canada. I'm taking that as fact because Six said it, so it therefore is true. Six is the only person on the internet who doesn't go on the internet and tell lies. So he knows the facts about Steve Martin. So he's Canadian raised. We'll take it. We'll take it as a victory. With someone funny, hey, the ATF is funny. They're funny as fuck. And bourbon is my go-to. Mine too, my brother. Yes, actually, Six and I have shared tips on bourbon back and forth a little bit, and yes, I think we've come to some good agreements on, what is a good bourbon, what's a good spicy whiskey, because that's what bourbon is basically. Spicy whiskey, the sweet corn turns spicy when you distill it, let it sour. I find rum a little too sweet, but yes, my man here has gotten blasted on one of my favorites, the Jim Beam's Devil's Cut. On stream live, this man had one too many, and it was just a great time.
6?
Yeah. Oh, just so fun. Like just watching because that's my problem with a good whiskey. The same problem he ran into with this Jim Beam's Devil Cut, that he got so drunk. Not because what we want is to get drunk. It's delicious. We find it really tasty, and I just want to taste a little more. And I keep convincing myself, just a little bit. I'm okay, just a little bit. And he does it too, with the right kind of bourbon. Yeah. It
wasn't a mistake. I had a good time last Sunday. It was Thanksgiving. Spent it with my in-laws, which can, is treacherous. But my brother-in-law is like, "Hey, Craig, what do you want to drink?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'll just have a soda." He's like, "Come on." I'm like, "Wait a second. Yeah, I don't have to work tomorrow. I'm off on Monday. I'm making a rum and Coke." So I had like 4 rum and Cokes that night. And at dinner, somehow we got on the topic of the war in Ukraine. And I showed my power level. I probably shouldn't have shown my power level to my family. I didn't come out in full defense of Putin. I just basically said, I want peace. I want them to end this. There's no way Ukraine is going to win this. And the longer that we go without having peace, the closer we get to possible nuclear war. And I don't want that. So I wish they would sit back down at the table and negotiate peace. And then I started going off about how Boris Johnson went in and, fucking deep six the peace talks a few months back and yada, yada, yada. And my mother-in-law's like, he wants to institute the Soviet Union again. I'm like, I don't think that's what he wants. I think what he wants is Donbass. That's what he wants. So anyway, it was funny. I would never have even brought up the subject or talked about it at all had I not been drinking.
Look, he said he has said on a number of occasions historical Russian control of these places, right? But I mean, you take that to its logical conclusion. If I'm not mistaken, Catherine the Great was ethnic Ukrainian. back when Kiev was the capital of what was called Russia,
Mhm.
because she actually conquered the whole of that place,
Mhm.
including Ukraine and Russia,
Right.
and and maybe some of the Balkans. Like,
Yeah. But the thing is, like, in terms of the Soviet Union being, I don't think he wants to make the Soviet Union again. I think he's happy with a Russian Federation. But the fact is that Crimea and the Donbass are 90+% ethnically Russian, and they've been treated like
yeah,
shit by the Ukrainian government since
maybe, I don't know.
2014. No, they are.
Hold on. From 2014, but the Soviet Union collapsed in 19 when?
Well, I don't know,
90.
89, 90, yeah.
So in 2014, which is 34 years later,
Yeah.
these areas of Donbass and Donetsk, these people don't speak fucking Ukrainian, don't read Ukrainian
No, they
after
probably
all that
do.
time.
No, probably a good chunk of them do. But here's the thing: Ukrainians consider themselves a distinct society, much like our Quebecois consider themselves a distinct society, right? So Ukraine was given the areas of Ukraine were parceled out by Khrushchev, and the argument being that Crimea should not have been, and that certain areas of Ukraine had were mostly ethnically Russian and weren't mostly ethnically Ukrainian.
Uh,
So,
Again,
well,
I've got issues with that. Ethnically Ukrainian and ethnically Russian.
hey man, they consider themselves two completely different ethnic groups, two completely different cultural groups. They do.
No, not so much. Uh,
Ask a Ukrainian if they're Russian, and they'll tell you no, I'm Ukrainian.
sure, I understand that too, but it's mostly a language barrier. Ask them if they think they're the same people that speak a different language. That's a better question,
Well,
more
I think
accurate.
I think a good number of them would say no.
I think that if you had 30 plus years, that's an entire generation to be grown up that you didn't let them learn Ukrainian. You didn't let them be part of this now new country.
It's not that. Well, no, I don't.
No.
It's
Are you
not that
kidding me?
they
No
weren't
one's
part of that
discriminating.
country.
I
No,
don't buy that shit. I don't buy that
I'm
shit at
not
all.
saying they weren't part of the country. They lived within Ukraine as Russians, and because they weren't historically or generationally Ukrainian, they were not treated so well by the ethnic Ukrainians.
I don't buy it.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I don't buy it because I don't see the evidence, right? Ukraine is actually, compared to a lot of what they call Russia now, separate from Uzbekistan, separate from Turkmenistan, separate from,
Mhm.
right? They're the same people. They speak a different language, right? And even the Uzbekistanis speak a language that bridges the gap, right?
Mhm.
Turkmenistan, the Chechens speak Russian, but they're all Muslim,
Mhm.
right? I don't really believe. Yeah, I'm having trouble coming to terms with that without solid evidence that Ukrainians were treating Russian speakers
I
badly
I
in
should
Ukraine.
I should be more precise with my language.
Let's
Not
try.
not Ukrainians, the Ukrainian people treated the Russian people badly. Sure, they got along fine. But the Ukrainian government did not treat the Russian people living in Donbass very well, or the Russian people
How
living in
though?
Crimea very well. They've been bombing them since 2014. They've been
No, no,
shooting
no.
fucking
Hold
rockets
on.
at them.
But hold on. Between 1990 and 2014,
Yeah.
Ukraine was a place.
Mhm.
Donetsk and Donbass and Crimea were all there, and they may have been Russian speakers, and their children may have grown up under the Ukrainian government.
Hmm.
But what did the Ukrainian government do to those children that they grow up to decide we are discriminated against? Other than teach them Ukrainian because this is Ukraine and you should learn Ukrainian and speak Ukrainian. I don't know what happened where they suddenly decided we have to rise up against basically the same people because our language is kind of different.
I think it goes back to the Minsk agreements of 2014, right? So that was when Crimea was annexed by Russia. Now, whether you like it or not, Crimea was annexed by Russia. Whether it was right or not is irrelevant. But the point is, since that happened, there have been people in Ukraine, primarily in Donbass and Crimea, who feel much more aligned with Moscow than they do with Kiev. And it's along ethnic lines. As a result, there has been violence against Russia supporters within Ukraine. And NATO has been giving its blessing for Ukraine to launch rocket attacks into the Donbass, killing Russians.
Hold on. I've already said I'm not with the Ukrainian armed forces anymore, now that apparently they're mostly ISIS soldiers. But what happened between like Putin very clearly took Crimea
Yep.
in a military act of aggression,
Yep.
because that is a strategic resource for Russia.
The Black Sea. Yep.
But what evidence do we have that the people of Crimea were oppressed by the Russian government that would justify that action?
The Ukrainian government, they had a referendum. What you should do is they had a referendum basically saying we'd rather be part of Russia. And
when?
Before like 2012, 2013. Watch Ukraine on Fire by Oliver Stone. It lays out. Yeah, so it lays out the entire conflict in Crimea and sort of sets up the history of Ukraine with Russia and how these two, like the nation within the larger Soviet Union and now as separate from the Russian Federation, they've never been on good terms with one another, ever. So this, because again, Ukrainians consider themselves to be a completely different culture and ethnic group from Russians, despite the fact that they're the same people. In the same way that, as Jeezy's saying, Scots and English people live in the same Great Britain, but they're completely different people. The Scots have their issues with the English, but they still manage to live together. I mean, they've fought for their own independence time and time again. I mean, the Irish did the same thing. They got into conflicts because they consider themselves a different people. And it is largely, like you said, along linguistic lines, but it's also a cultural thing to them. So, David.
Hold on. Good night, Six. Thanks for coming. The Angry Goose is on my side, and I will flock with the Angry Geese to eat others. Okay, hold on. They voted to join Russia in 2015. The Winter on Fire was 2014. The assaults were 2014. I don't trust that kind of vote to join Russia in 2015. I can't. I need evidence prior.
Okay.
Right? And the evidence I need is that the Ukrainian people, all right, were treating the people apparently of all of Crimea, a huge peninsula with a significant portion of the population, were being mistreated before that. Okay, now I know what happened in the Winter on Fire was actually stupid and wrong. Right? I watched that thing and they're like, this guy got elected and it was proved that he was cheating in the election. And then he got elected again, and this time it was for reals. So they revolted. Wait, what?
I mean, who's to say, right? Like, I mean, there's a significant portion of the United States that doesn't believe the last election was legitimate either. And prior to that, there was a significant portion of the United States that didn't think the 2016 election was legit either.
Sure.
So, like, democracy is always contested, right?
But
the outcome is always contested. But
here's my problem. Here's my problem. We're saying we have proof of a counterfeit election. We have proof of counterfeit election in this other place. What I want is evidence that the people of in the Crimea, who are mostly ethnically Russian, mostly Russian speakers, were being maltreated by the Ukrainian government, by the Ukrainian country as a whole. I don't know if I have that. I haven't seen it.
I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. I'm sure there's evidence of it somewhere. I don't know, but like, I think it's more incredible to believe that Russia fabricated strife in Crimea just so they could get their hands on it, and is doing the same in Donbass. I mean, there is a strategic goal in getting Donbass and Crimea, so that Russia has a land bridge to the Black Sea. I get it, but I don't think the turmoil in the area is completely spun out of whole cloth, any more than I think the people in Syria want Assad gone, right? That Assad's an evil dictator, and everyone in Syria want Assad out of there. Everything I've seen is that Assad, apart from being a dictator, is actually quite popular amongst people in Syria.
Not a fair comparison, though, because you're looking at education levels, general information accessibility levels between the two nations. The Syrians are mostly fucking sand farmers and goat rapists. And in Ukraine, right, they're actually fairly well off, even in the poorest areas, that they have things like internet access. And
it's not just a big fucking desert. They've got big cities too, where they have internet access. They have access to
they have big cities the way Canada does. That one in the corner that rules everything, and everybody else that suffers because of them.
Yeah.
Right? We're turning into a third world country because of this. And in Ukraine, I just don't see it. They're too spread out. They're too accessible that this could happen, that it wasn't like a bigger deal beforehand. That, like, where is that evidence? It should be very apparent. It should be easily put forward to all of us, and it just isn't. It's just not there.
Delta Mail says RT, Russian Times, has Donbass citizen testimony if you can find it. Well, I mean, again, testimony is testimony, right? Everybody's got a story, but I hear what you're saying. Here's the thing: we can't know for sure what is true, what's went on in the past, or what's going on now, because any news or information you're going to get is going to be filtered through a narrative, and the narrative that we typically see is the one that is put out there by people friendly to America and America's interests. So if there were evidence of rockets landing in Donbass at the hands of the military and the hands of of militia groups in Ukraine proper, it's out there. We just might not ever see it, right?
Yeah, and I know it's happened. I would be naive to think it hasn't since 2014. But what was happening before 2014 that somebody decided military intervention on behalf of these people is warranted? I haven't seen that.
Well, I think what happened was Putin came to power, realized that, hey, we need access to the Black Sea, and we better get Crimea.
Sure.
It's mostly ethnically Russian, and they probably like to be part of us anyway. Let's spin the narrative that they want to be part of the Russian Federation, and we'll make it happen. I'm sure there's a little bit of truth on all parts of that scenario, right? There probably are a good contingent of people in Donbass and Crimea who are like, yeah, fuck Ukraine, we don't want to be part of it. And there's probably a bunch of people in Crimea who are like, I love Ukraine, it's been my home forever, and I have no problem with this. But all things being equal, Crimea got annexed. Donbass is getting annexed, so to speak, or they're joining the Russian Federation, and Putin gets his land bridge to the Black Sea because it's what he wants.
And I know that's the case and the facts, but also because we don't know any of this shit, we don't have this.
Mm.
We shouldn't be really supporting either side.
No,
This is what I'm trying to circle around to here,
no,
right?
absolutely
It's
not.
not Putin apologism. It's not Ukraine support. It's more like, Jesus Christ, they have to sort this out themselves, because guess what? Our country doesn't have the tens of millions of dollars to send them that they're sending them. Like, stop giving away our money to this
Fuck it, we'll just
foreign
print more
conflict.
money. We're already in the hole. May as well keep digging. Just print more money.
Where do you think our fucking carbon taxes are going? They're going to triple our carbon tax and send it away. They're going to say, oh, you're going to get it back. No, we're not. We'll never get it back. It's
No.
going to a foreign country. Another good meme is a picture of Zelensky saying, I made $10 billion working from home. Let me tell you how.
That's fucking hilarious. Oh shit. No, you know what? I don't support either one of them. I understand the justification from Russia, whether it's purely for strategic access to the Black Sea or it's a genuine interest to repatriate Russian ethnic Russians into the Federation. There's probably a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B. I don't think it was justified going into Ukraine like that. I don't think it's justified for NATO to be supporting Ukraine the way it is, given that Ukraine is not a member of NATO. It's not even a member of the European Union. I think it's all a big money laundering scam on the part of Western nations, like it has been in Ukraine since the Berlin Wall fell. And I think the only real way forward is peace. And I'm supremely pissed off at Western leaders and Western talking heads who seem to think that they can just keep fighting this war indefinitely and bankrupt Russia, and do it on, with the blood and bodies of Ukrainians, and put all of Europe at risk of nuclear Armageddon simply because it makes them and their military industrial complex allies rich. And anybody who pushes for peace gets excoriated as somehow a Putin sympathizer. Like, this is absolutely insane and frustrating to no end. I think Boris Johnson and everybody else should be smacked around a bit. It's a good thing Boris Johnson is leaving. Although this new chick, Truss or whatever her name is, Truss, she doesn't seem any better. She seems fully on supported. Like, yeah, let's just keep sending money to Ukraine because I can launder money that way, and I can justify increases in spending, and we can justify implementing measures that will make lives of Britons miserable. It's all good because it's the moral thing to do to keep supporting Ukraine.
And it's mind-boggling to me because I grew up at a key moment in my life in Manitoba. And Manitoba is where most of our fucking Slavs are. And most of our Slavs are Ukrainians. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We have a lot of Poles, we have a lot of Russians, but we have 1.4 million Ukrainian people in Canada of Ukrainian descent or Ukrainian immigrants. And my whole life, meeting Poles, meeting Russians, having Ukrainian family, we all treated Russians, Poles the same way that you would treat your brothers. Yeah. That's not me specifically, right? Ukrainian, Russian, Pole, older brother, younger brother, middle brother. We fuck with each other and we make fun of each other. We rib each other to the hardest. Oh, but anybody else comes at us. Whoa. Suddenly we're a united front. That's why I'm having so much trouble with this conflict.
Well,
Right? That
I think your
something's not
experience.
right here.
I think your experience with expats from like Slavic expats uh, is affected by the fact that they're in Canada now and don't have to deal with that shit, and they probably think of themselves more Canadian than anything else at this point. While still recognizing their heritage. But you're right. Like most people get along regardless of their background. There isn't this sort of nationalistic debate. I mean, even Americans and Canadians, we may rib on Americans for some of the stupid shit that goes on there, and they rib on us for living in igloos. But at the end of the day, we get along. And I think most people living in Crimea, whether Ukrainian or Russian, are probably getting along. It's what's happening at the hands of the leaders who are trying to foment hate between the two groups and are trying to, win their own interests as opposed to doing what's best for their own people.
I hope so because it's always felt deeper than that. Right? And I hope the peoples are willing to stand up to their so-called leadership because they feel that way too. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's been so this is my brother, and I have you ever been in a fist fight with your brother?
Yeah, they've never gone well for me. I
Okay,
mean, I'm
but
not
you're
a
still
fighter.
brothers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, but there were times when I was like, we'd have like bust out fights, and I was like, because he always get the better of me because he's heavier. He was older than me. I'm bigger than him now. I don't think I'm heavier. I think he's still heavier. But either way, we wouldn't get into a fight now because we're adults. But when we were teenagers, sure, we'd fight. And he always get the better of me. And I remember getting so angry one time, I almost pulled a sword off the wall and fucking ran him through. I was so angry. But yeah. Johnny Hellcat says hello. Hello, Johnny Hellcat.
Hello, Johnny.
I don't know who Johnny Hellcat is.
He's a friend of Six's and some of our peoples, and I think he and I have been together on Jack Gunsky's Quippers United train.
Oh, cool. He was here earlier too. I guess he might be gone now, though, right?
Yes, yeah, he's probably on to bed.
I got to get back on that show. It's been a while. I think I went on once or twice. Once I'll go back on again. It's a fun
Yeah,
show.
because you're fucking hilarious. You're
No.
an absolute boon to that show.
Oh, hello,
I
Cat.
just
Cat just walked in.
like I hate to be some sort of ethno-nationalist here.
Sure you do.
Oh, but I mean, like, if you just don't want people to believe that Jews rule the world through finance and Hollywood and music, maybe you shouldn't fucking attack the finances of a musician when he calls Jews out. Like, that's not a good look.
Yeah, I don't know what that was all about. The whole I'm going to call out the Jews next. Part of me was thinking he was joking, but you can't tell with him because he comes off as being like he's like a black Alex Jones. You don't know what kind of shit he's saying is part of the act and what kind of it is like sincere.
He's a little bit crazy, and
he's a little on the edge.
Like one of the jokes that he makes that's not really a joke is I'm not out of control. I'm just out of their control.
Yeah, he's kind of like what's his name? Charlie Sheen.
Or Donald Trump, right?
Donald Trump, that's right. Yeah. They come at me because they'd rather come at you, but I'm just in the way. Yeah, that's it.
And yeah, like I'm not saying it's the Jews, right? But why do you all have funny names?
Okay, Gibson. You're fucking Mel Gibson over here.
Yeah, hey, say what you want about Mel Gibson and his anti-Semitism. That man knows how to make a movie.
That's right. He can call all the female cops sugar tits he wants, as long as he keeps making good movies.
Oh, it's terrible.
It is terrible. Did you hear about Pelosi? I guess, I don't know why they let this come out, but she had a camera crew on January 6th
Yes.
following her around, and she's on camera saying, I've been waiting a long time for this. I hope he comes in here. I'm going to punch him out, and I'm going to go to jail, and I'm going to be happy. And somebody posted it on Twitter, like her standing. I think it was a Photoshop picture of her standing, all like, like a superheroine or whatever. I said, "Oh, she's such a hero." I'm like, "Look at them dugs." she's got tig old biddies, eh? You know that, right?
So I didn't comment on your post at the time. Let me do it now. I still would. Holy shit! I would love to go at that and have her deeper in the bag than I am now, talking dirty through her slurred, lisping bullshit, just telling me all kinds of horrible things she wants me to do to her. Just yeah.
Motorboat those big old titties.
Oh, I would. Oh, I would.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. I've never been a big booby guy. Like, big boobies have never been my big thing. Like, I don't know what it is.
Big, small, what, it doesn't matter. It's the context.
Yeah.
The context of that woman in that dress at that moment, talking drunker to me than I am now, with all her filthiness, because clearly she's been to Epstein Island. Like, clearly she has.
Is she on the flight logs?
She's just engaged in some degenerate shit. She will talk things to me that I have never heard before. Okay?
Yeah.
Like, oh,
She'll put that $75 ice cream on your dick and slop it off as her fucking dentures fall out and land on your balls.
These are all new experiences, and I will accept them. Like,
oh, we're terrible.
Yes. No one ever said I was a good person. What I said was, I need Jesus. Imagine how bad it would be for me. What a terrible person I would be without Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm doing my best with Jesus's help.
You know what? I think Jesus would approve of your conduct here tonight, because Jesus was nothing if not irreverent. So I think he appreciates a little bit of irreverence now and again.
You know what? He appreciates truth. All right? Because what I'm doing...
And truly, you would motorboat that woman.
What I'm doing, in a sense, is confessing.
That's right.
All right? And
it's good for the soul, brother.
And he's forgiving me. He's forgiving me. Right? I saw some great thing about how in the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus saw all of the sins of people, future and past. And he still went ahead and sacrificed himself. Right? And someone was like, that's fucking mad. That's fucking crazy. What he saw was someone in the future blowing ropes to Waluigi hentai porn. And he's like, I'm going to forgive that guy.
He was a good person. He was a genuinely good person.
He was genuinely the most real person, the most like hardcore hippie, libertarian, and like, I can forgive you for your transgressions because I have the same weaknesses as a human. Like, it's so wild. And I don't have it. That's why I'm struggling with this thing that I was telling you earlier. because I don't have that. All right.
You don't
I
have what?
haven't achieved that. Is that a thing I can aspire to? Is that a thing that just a mere man can do? Or
What?
do you have to be a god
To
to
what?
come down in flesh and say, I can forgive you for your flesh? I can forgive you for your weakness and your hatred. Because I don't know, like I'm struggling with my own hatred. Like I'm really having trouble with it.
Really? Who do you hate?
Oh,
I mean, I know
well,
you don't like being around people right now, but everybody goes through a bit of an antisocial phase every now and again, especially when you see the way some people behave. And I don't think that, social media is helping you or anyone else with that sort of mindset. It is very depressing and very disheartening when you see some of the things that are said by people on social media that are just so out there. And you're like, how can people be so wrong or off, right? So I get that, but do you think it rises to the level of hatred? See, because to me, hatred is one of these things where I am so uh, I am so venomous towards you that I want harm to happen to you. Are
it,
you at that level?
it's weird. We're on 220 and we're losing viewers. I
Yeah, we
think
are.
we should call it. And if you're really interested, we'll discuss it after. I'll give you
Well,
some insight.
I mean, we can pick it up at another time. We can talk about it on another stream. But I myself have to go to bed soon because I got to get up early and take my car to the shop. I
Sure.
I have an appointment early in the morning, so
Okay. No, yeah, we're I'm not gonna go into the depths of my what's the word? Religious beliefs, spiritual beliefs, but yeah. Thanks guys, everyone for coming. Good night. Remember the thumbnail, the slate is the truth. YouTube is the lie. So we'll try that again next time. But we're out. Craig, last words.
women are like dog do. Hear me through. Don't interrupt. It's just the older that they are, the easier are to pick up.
For Orson, for Kislev. Good night, everyone. Thanks for coming. We'll see you on the next one. This has been great.